The afternoon heat shimmered off the tarmac at Fort Hood as General Marcus Webb stood beside the Lifeless Apache helicopter, frustration etched across his face. Behind him, three of the Army's top aviation specialists huddled around diagnostic equipment, their expressions ranging from confused to defeated. They'd been trying to start the $30 million machine for over 3 hours. "Sir, we've checked everything," Chief Warrant Officer Davis reported. "Fuel systems are good. Electrical is nominal. Hydraulics check out. This bird should be running, but she's completely dead. We might need to call in a factory tech team." General Webb shook his head. Factory techs would take days, and this Apache was scheduled for critical training in 48 hours. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts, stopping at a name he hadn't called in 5 years. What happened next would remind everyone that experience sometimes matters more than all the technology in the world. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe because what you're about to witness will absolutely amaze you. "Frank, Marcus Webb, I need a favor." 40 minutes later, a weathered Ford pickup pulled up to the flight line. The man who stepped out looked nothing like someone who belonged on a military airfield. He had to be pushing 80, with white hair, thick glasses, and a lean, weathered frame. He wore oil-stained jeans, work boots, and a faded flannel shirt. A battered toolbox hung from one hand. Chief Davis leaned toward the general. "Sir, who is this?" "Master Sergeant Frank Holloway. Retired?" The old man shook hands with the general. "Marcus, you pulled me from my garden. This better be good." His voice was gravelly but humorous. He turned to study the Apache. "So what's wrong with her?" Davis stepped forward. "Sir, we've run every diagnostic. Fuel, electrical, hydraulics. Everything checks out, but she won't even turn over." Frank walked slowly around the helicopter, not touching anything, just looking. A young warrant officer named Torres whispered to Davis, "We're trusting some random old guy with this." Frank stopped and turned. "You boys try the auxiliary power unit." "First thing we check, sir," Davis replied. "A PU is functioning perfectly. And the main circuit breakers?" "Reset them twice." "All nominal," Frank nodded, then walked to the rear of the aircraft. He stood there for a long moment, head tilted, as if listening. Then he kicked the lower fuselage, hard, right above the landing gear. "Sir," Torres started forward. "You can't just—" The old man held up a hand, still listening. He kicked it again, then moved forward and kicked a third time. This time, they all heard it, a faint rattling sound, like something loose inside. "There's your problem," Frank said calmly. He set down his toolbox. "Davis, you got an inspection panel key?" 5 minutes later, they had a small access panel open. Frank shone his light inside, reached in with surprising dexterity, and pulled out a small metal object. "Safety wire," he announced. "Probably came loose during maintenance. See how it's wedged against the master relay. Been grounding out your entire electrical system. Computer diagnostics wouldn't catch it because technically everything is working. You just got a short circuit in a place your equipment can't see. If you're still watching, drop a comment about a time when simple experience solved what technology couldn't. And make sure you're subscribed because we share incredible stories like this every week." The specialist stared at the tiny piece of wire, then at Frank. Davis looked like he'd just witnessed magic. "How did you know?" Torres asked quietly. Frank smiled. 52 years flying and fixing helicopters, son. Started on Hueys in Vietnam, worked on Cobras, Apaches, Blackhawks. You learn that these machines, for all their computers and sensors, still got personalities. They talk to you if you know how to listen. He turned to General Webb. "Want me to stick around while you start her up?" "Please." Davis climbed into the cockpit and ran through the startup sequence. This time, the displays flickered to life. The turbines began their whine. The rotors started turning. The Apache was alive. A cheer went up from the specialist. Torres looked at Frank with awe. "Sir, that was incredible. How long did you serve?" 32 years active duty, Frank replied. "Another 20 as a contractor. Retired fully 5 years ago." He adjusted his glasses. Got 2 silver stars, 3 distinguished flying crosses, and more air medals than I can remember. But you know what I'm most proud of? In 52 years, I never lost an aircraft that could be saved. Sometimes the solution isn't in the manual, it's in knowing your machine like you know yourself. General Webb walked Frank back to his truck. I owe you one. Nah, Frank said, climbing in. Just doing what I always did. But Marcus, teach those young specialists something. All that education, all that technology, it's good. But don't let them forget that experience matters. Sometimes the old ways, the gut feelings, the ability to listen to what a machine is telling you, that's what makes the difference between a technician and a craftsman. He started his truck and looked back at the running Apache. Tell them that every helicopter was built and fixed by someone. Understanding the human element, respecting accumulated knowledge, that's not old-fashioned. That's wisdom. As Frank drove away, General Webb returned to find his specialist still staring in wonder. Davis approached him. Sir, I've got 15 years of experience and every certification the Army offers. That man solved in 10 minutes what we couldn't figure out in 3 hours. It should be humbling, Webb replied, and instructive. Frank Holloway is why we respect our veterans, why we maintain those relationships. That man forgot more about helicopters than most people will ever know. Remember this day. Technology serves experience, not the other way around. This story reminds us that in our rush to embrace new technology, we sometimes forget the irreplaceable value of experience. That retired professional, that elderly expert who seems out of touch, they carry decades of knowledge no computer can replicate. Before you dismiss someone as outdated, remember Master Sergeant Holloway and a piece of wire that computers couldn't find, but experience spotted in minutes. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Thank a veteran or retired professional today for the wisdom they carry. Hit that subscribe button for more stories that show us what real expertise looks like. What's your take on experience versus technology? Let us know in the comments. The newest tool is only as good as the wisdom guiding it.